I'm Aisha Khan, 48 years old, and for 18 years, I've carried the rugged weight of a betrayal that derailed my exploration dreams and forced me to forge a new path through the wild. It was the spring of 2007, a crisp September morning in Tasmania, the air crisp with the scent of eucalyptus and the damp earth of the Tarkine rainforest, when I faced my former guide, Captain James Reed, in the cramped base camp tent of our wilderness expedition, a remote outpost in the island's northwest. The tent, with its weathered canvas, cluttered table of topographic maps, and the faint crackle of a radio, had been my strategic haven during the relentless 16-hour treks that defined my early career, a place where the rustle of leaves and the call of a wedge-tailed eagle had fueled my passion. But that day it turned into a trap where my ambitions were abandoned under the dim glow of a lantern. I was 30 then, a skilled navigator with a flair for uncharted routes, my proposed expedition through the Franklin Gordon Wild Rivers National Park, featuring sustainable trekking, a partnership with conservation groups, and a detailed route map I'd drafted, winning a Tasmanian Adventure Award and catching the eye of outdoor media, my leadership earning murmurs of a lead role among the rugged crew who saw me as the expedition's future. I joined Reed's wilderness tours in 2005 after certifying with the Australian Outdoor Leadership Awards, bringing a fresh vision to a company mired in old methods, basic gear, reliance on tourist trails, a turnover rate nearing 25%, my name a quiet hope among guides who believed I could pioneer new paths. But that morning, as I presented a detailed plan for an ecotourism venture, highlighting biodiversity studies, a collaboration with Parks Tasmania, and a pilot trek I'd scouted to secure a $200,000 state grant and elevate the company's profile, Captain Reed's demeanor shifted from mentor to saboteur, his posture stiffening as he adjusted his compass. "You'll never lead this expedition, Aisha. Stick to packing," he growled, his voice cutting through the hum of the wind outside, his eyes narrowing with a mix of resentment and control as he tapped my map with his knife. He admitted, with a smug grunt that sent a chill through me, that he'd stolen my plan, submitting it under his name to the grant committee just days before my presentation, securing the funding and a feature in the Mercury that hailed his pioneering spirit. To bury me, he orchestrated my dismissal with fabricated accusations, poor navigation based on altered GPS logs, reckless behavior from a staged incident over a fallen tree, backed by a loyal porter he'd bribed, and a conveniently timed gear theft that lost my field notes, which I'd stored in a locked pack that appeared rifled through after a night watch. The tour company, swayed by Captain Reed's 12-year tenure, his ties to a wealthy outfitter who'd supplied the gear, and my lack of allies, my notes gone, leaving me voiceless, upheld his decision in 2008, firing me from the team, my reputation tarnished across Australia's outdoor community as unreliable and overambitious, a scar that lingered like a trail blaze. My partner, Tom, a steady carpenter with a love for bush poetry and a quiet resolve, supported me, but our savings dwindled under tool costs, our dream of a cabin in the Blue Mountains fading into the cramped reality of a flat with moldy walls, a creaky bunk, and a leaky tent pole that dripped through the nights. Those words, "Never lead this expedition, stick to packing," became a relentless echo, a haunting refrain that reverberated through every pack I carried, every trail I walked, every moment I stood alone by a campfire, the sound mingling with the crackle of wood and the hoot of an owl. I can still feel the weight of those early months after the dismissal, sitting on that creaky bunk in our flat, the Tasmanian wilderness visible through the window, a reminder of my lost domain. As I flipped through outdoor magazines and job listings in the Australian, the ink smudging my fingers with each turn of the page, my eyes stinging with exhaustion after sleepless nights replaying Captain Reed's betrayal. The flat, with its second-hand furniture, a wobbly table Tom had salvaged from a shed, a chair with a split seat he'd mended with rope, and a single window overlooking a dusty alley where possums scurried, felt a world away from the wild camps I'd led, its air heavy with the lingering scent of pine and canvas I'd brought home on my boots, a reminder of the life I'd lost. Tom took on extra carpentry gigs, building decks in Launceston, repairing fences in Hobart, his evenings spent sanding under a kerosene lamp, the scent of sawdust and tea a testament to his sacrifice, while I pieced together a fragile existence with guiding jobs at tourist parks in Devonport, survival workshops in Burnie, and weekend shifts at an outdoor store in Kingston, each step a fight to reclaim my path, every dollar a step toward survival in a region where land prices climbed and exploration dreams felt unattainable. Our daughter, Zara, born in 2009 after years of hoping, grew up surrounded by maps turned into toys, expedition logs stacked beside her crib, her childish questions a tender ache. "Why don't you go on big adventures anymore, Mummy?" she'd ask, her small hands tracing the edges of my award certificate. I'd smile through the lump in my throat, spinning tales of new trails to explore with the world. But the truth gnawed at me. Captain Reed had blacklisted me, his narrative of my instability spreading to outfitters and parks, his influence a barrier to my expeditions, leaving me stuck on the fringes of a life I'd once pioneered. Captain Reed's career soared in the years that followed. By 2014, he'd expanded wilderness tours into a national brand, his name etched on awards from the Australian Adventure Council, his wealth evident in a seaside home in St. Helens, a holiday shack in Freycinet, and a leased Land Rover for his treks. He hosted lavish eco-summits at Cradle Mountain, his wife Claire dazzling in outdoor gear at conservation galas, his son Ethan rising as a guide with a degree from the University of Tasmania, while I rebuilt quietly, starting a small guiding service by 2011 from our garage. My treks grew, school groups in Queenstown, eco-tours in Strahan, who valued my expertise, my reputation a quiet undercurrent in Tasmania's outdoor scene, passed along at ranger stations and adventure fairs. But the wound deepened with every milestone of Captain Reed's success. His smug keynotes at the Tasmanian Wilderness Society, Claire's Instagram posts from the Overland Track, Ethan's lead role in a documentary, each a fresh sting. My parents, both gone by 2019, had believed his lies, their final years dimmed by his version of events, their letters filled with concern over my struggles. Zara, now a 16-year-old outdoor enthusiast at Launceston College, grappled with shame. Her early adventures shadowed by Captain Reed's influence, her questions about my work strained by her childhood respect for the man. Tom's unwavering support, his hand-carved walking sticks, his late-night poems over cups of Billy tea, his repairs of our leaky tent pole kept me grounded, his love a steady compass in the wild. The turning point came 5 years ago, in 2020, when the first cracks in Captain Reed's polished facade emerged. His company faced lawsuits over unsafe trails. Tourists posted viral complaints on X about abandoned camps, and a whistleblower exposed falsified safety logs in an ABC Tasmania expose. At 43, with my knees aching from years of trekking, I began my discreet investigation, contacting old porters over coffee at cafes in Hobart. I'd meet them in the early mornings, my notebook a shield, listening to their tales of Captain Reed's decline, overworked guides, neglected gear, a culture of fear, over plates of damper and black tea. Last month, on July 20th, 2025, I sat with Lachlan, a former porter who'd left in 2019 at a cafe in Salamanca Place, the hum of seagulls a faint backdrop. His trembling hands pass me a USB drive. He's syncing, stolen routes, fake logs, pressure on us to hide risks. He murmured, his voice thick with regret. "That eco-tour was yours, Aisha." My pulse raced. This was the proof I'd waited for. On August 10th, 2025, I contacted Mia, a journalist with the Mercury who'd uncovered outdoor scandals with a sharp eye, meeting her at her cluttered office in Battery Point. We poured over the USB photos of my 2007 map sketch, detailed logs of Captain Reed's theft, emails hinting at bribed rangers. This could ground him, Mia said, her voice a mix of excitement and caution. But we need the right summit. On August 22nd, 2025, I dug deeper, turning our flat into a detective's lair. amid maps and gear scraps, I accessed public records online, my fingers stiff but resolute. At 10 a.m., I found it, a 2022 audit report buried in the Tasmanian Parks and Wildlife Service archives, tied to my plan, now linked to a landslide scandal that cost the company $250,000 in fines. My hands shook as I printed it, the past merging with the present in a surge of clarity. That evening, at 9:17 p.m. Australian Eastern Standard Time on September 1st, 2025, I sat by my window, the Tasmanian wilderness a soft silhouette, plotting my next move. The Australian Adventure Awards were on September 20th, a glittering event to mask Captain Reed's decline. I'd attend, not as the packer, but as his reckoning. What he didn't know was I'd transformed my pain into a trail of justice blazed by 18 years of resilience. The 4 weeks leading to the awards were a careful navigation of strategy and stealth, my days running the guiding service a cover for the revenge mapping in my mind. By August 25th, 2025, our flat, its walls lined with maps faded by damp, its table cluttered with route drafts stained with mud, its air tinged with the scent of pine and leather, evolved into a war room where every penciled adjustment and gear check fueled my resolve. Mia and I met nightly, her recorder open on my wobbly table as we dissected the USB and audit reports, the soft drip of the tent-pole rhythm to our planning. My 2007 EcoTour plan, with its sustainable routes and conservation focus, had won Captain Reed his grant, its success a pillar of his rise, while my biodiversity tweaks, wildlife monitoring I proposed had been misused, leading to the 2022 scandal. Lachlan's data revealed a pattern: stolen routes from 2008, falsified logs in 2019, a cover-up of a 2021 storm damage, hushed with ranger bribes, a fragile operation on the edge. I contacted Bruce, a retired guide who'd clashed with Captain Reed over a 2013 safety dispute, his gravelly voice joining us via a crackling Zoom call from his cabin in Strahan. This could revoke his permits, hit him mid-speech, he advised, his tone laced with old grievances. I nodded, my plan a trail blazed from 18 years of suppressed rage. Each step a memory of lost expeditions, stolen credit, shattered trust. The awards, set for 6 p.m. on September 20th, 2025 at the Hobart Function Center, would be Captain Reed's Peak, a gathering of explorers, outfitters, media, and conservationists, all drawn by the promise of prestige under the venue's panoramic windows. I'd pose as a retired guide, my jacket swapped for a modest outfit with a hidden pocket, my movements slow with a cane to conceal my intent, my dark hair in a braid, a symbol of my enduring spirit. My task was to deliver the evidence to Mia, who'd signal Bruce's ranger contacts at 7 p.m., timed with Captain Reed's acceptance speech, ensuring maximum exposure. I secured an invitation through Zara, now a 16-year-old who'd networked with a judge's daughter at a hiking club. Her email on August 28th, a laminated pass I clutched like a map, her note reading, "You're my trailblazer, Mummy." She suspected nothing, her passion a tool I'd wield with care. Preparation was a rigorous trek, a blend of physical discipline and emotional fortitude. I practiced my shuffle daily along the Derwent River, perfecting a weary gait and a warm, unassuming smile that masked my burning resolve, my cane tapping a rhythm of patience against the bank. I rehearsed lines, just here to honor wilderness heritage, though each word carried the weight of Captain Reed's betrayal, Tom's steadfast love, and Zara's silent pride in my past. Physically, I scouted trails and packed gear daily, my knees protesting, but each step bolstered my will to stand tall that night. I revisited old mementos, map sketches from 2007, a faded photo with Tom at a camp, a compass Zara decorated, a rejected grant proposal, each a spark in my fire. One night, I found a torn log from the gear theft, its edges frayed, and wept, the lost route fueling my fury. I tracked Zara's life, her hiking trips, her friendship with a climber named Jake, hoping this act would secure her future free from Captain Reed's shadow. On September 17th, Captain Reed called, his tone gruff with false warmth. "Aisha, the awards are big. Bring Zara, let's bury the hatchet," he said, his voice rough but laced with condescension. I agreed, hiding my scheme. He didn't suspect I'd coordinated with Mia, who'd lined up Bruce's contacts, or that I'd commissioned an outfit with a hidden pocket, its fabric a shield of my past honor. The outfit arrived on September 19th, sewn by a local seamstress from Battery Point, Mrs. O'Connor, who chatted about her knitting, unaware of my mission. I tested the pocket, sliding the USB and audit inside, their weight a promise of justice. At 5:30 p.m. on September 20th, I arrived, the function center buzzing with the clink of glasses and the murmur of excited explorers, the wilderness framing the skyline. Captain Reed spotted me near the entrance, smirking. "Aisha, still packing?" Nostalgic, he quipped. I nodded, my cane steady, my pocket ready. At 6:45 p.m., he began his speech, launching into a tale of his wilderness legacy and unveiling a new eco-tour echoing mine. I scanned the scene, Zara clapping awkwardly, Jake beside her, media filming, Claire sipping wine with a smug grin, Ethan adjusting his father's notes. At 6:58 p.m., as Captain Reed praised his vision, I edged toward Mia, my pulse a drumbeat. I slipped her the USB and audit, whispering, "Now." She nodded, texting Bruce. At 7:02 p.m., Rangers stormed in, badges glinting under the window light, shouting, "Investigation underway." Captain Reed's map fell, his face paling as they seized his pack. The awards ceremony erupted into a maelstrom of chaos, attendees scattering like startled wallabies fleeing the function center's polished floors, media cameras pivoting to capture every second of the unfolding drama, Captain Reed's protests drowned by the authoritative commands of Rangers that reverberated off the glass walls, the windows casting fractured light across the scene. Zara stood stunned near a refreshment table, Jake's hand on her shoulder offering silent support, her eyes wide with disbelief as the truth unraveled, while explorers murmured in clusters, their adventurous world rocked by the scandal. I stood tall, my outfit a badge of my hard-earned resolve forged over 18 years, my cane a symbol of strength that had carried me through the wildest trails, my heart pounding with a mix of 18 years of vindication, and the bittersweet ache of a family nearly lost to Captain Reed's deceit that had cast a long shadow. Rangers swarmed the stage, their dark coats a stark contrast to the center's sleek decor of wooden panels and steel beams, cuffing Captain Reed as he roared, "This is a sham! Aisha, you'll pay!" His voice cracking with the desperation of a man watching his outdoor empire crumble. They read charges, plagiarism that stripped his awards, falsified logs that undermined his reputation, safety violations that endangered lives. Each word a hammer blow to his legacy, the list growing with a $300,000 fine for unaccounted grants that funded his home, their voices steady as they recited the litany. Mia approached, her voice a lifeline amid the din of shouting and camera clicks. "They've got him, Aisha. You've done it, his trail's ended," she said, her eyes alight with the thrill of the scoop. The media frenzy was immediate, headlines like Reed's wilderness ruin, and Explorer's 18-year revenge blazed across screens. By 9 p.m., my name a murmur of awe in the chaos that swirled through the center, microphones thrust toward me like trekking poles seeking a grip. Captain Reed turned to me, his face flushed with rage that mottled his once rugged features, sweat beading on his brow like dew on a fern, his outdoor gear now rumpled as Rangers tightened their grip on his arms, his posture slumping under the weight of defeat. "You? After all these years, you petty little packer? You've destroyed my legacy," he bellowed, his voice breaking with the desperation of a man whose path was blocked, his hands shaking as he pointed at me with a trembling finger. I met his gaze, unflinching despite the tremor in my own hands that betrayed the adrenaline surging through me, my voice clear and resonant with the strength of 18 years of silent suffering that had steeled my resolve. You said I'd never lead this expedition, Captain Reed, that I was only fit for packing. I proved you wrong, with evidence that outlasts your lies, with grit that outran your schemes, with every trail I blazed while you stole and faltered. This is my payback, for me, for Zara, whose childhood you shadowed, for every guide you crushed, for every journey you stranded with your greed. He lunged, his fist raised in a futile gesture of defiance that spoke of his last grasp at control, but Rangers restrained him with firm hands, dragging him out as Claire sobbed uncontrollably, her wine glass slipping to shatter on the floor in a spray of red, a symbol of her fallen status. Zara rushed to me, her voice breaking through the noise like a lifeline tossed into a stormy ravine. "Mummy, I didn't know." "I'm so sorry for trusting him," she said, tears streaking her face as she wrapped her arms around me. The first embrace in years that mended a rift I'd feared permanent. I hugged her back, the warmth of her body against mine a balm to the wounds of the past, Jake nodding in support with a quiet smile, a bridge to a future reclaimed from the trails of my past. The crowd buzzed with reporters, their microphones thrust toward me like compasses seeking a bearing. But I turned away, my victory a private expedition burning bright within, a journey no scandal could derail. The fallout was swift and relentless, a landslide that buried the remnants of Captain Reed's outdoor empire. Rangers suspended him from wilderness tours, seizing camps in the Tarkine and supply depots in Launceston, where maps sat idle, records from safety logs hauled away in crates, freezing his personal accounts that held the profits of his deceit, halting his summits across Australia where he'd once guided, while inspectors raided his St. Helens home for evidence of fraud, uncovering a cache with falsified permits. His company collapsed like a washed-out track, his reputation tarnished beyond repair, outfitters distancing themselves with press releases, his name a cautionary tale whispered in ranger stations from Devonport to Strahan, a fallen guide replaced by silence. The media dug deeper, uncovering a $120,000 slush fund for bribed rangers that funded his Freycinet shack and Claire's wardrobe, a detail that sent shockwaves through the Australian adventure sector and prompted a state inquiry, the scandal-dominating evening news. Zara reconciled fully, moving into our flat to help expand my service into an eco-tour company, her enthusiasm blending with mine, while Jake joined as a logistics planner, his skills a new route. Tom and I rekindled our dreams, planning a Blue Mountains getaway to a cabin we'd finally saved for, the scent of wattle a promise of peace. Claire faded from gala circuits, her social circle dissolving like morning mist, and Ethan, Captain Reed's son, distanced himself, seeking a guiding job under a new mentor to escape the taint. I didn't gloat. My aim was justice, not destruction, a balance I'd learned from years of navigating the wild. But the sight of Captain Reed's fall brought a profound peace that filled the hollow left by his words, a quiet satisfaction that settled in my soul like a well-marked trail. That night, at 9:17 p.m. Australian Eastern Standard Time on September 1st, 2025, I sat with a cup of Billy tea that glowed amber in the lamplight, the news confirming his suspension on a muted radio, a letter from Captain Reed in hand, its envelope creased from my grip. "Aisha, I was wrong. Help me," it pleaded, his handwriting shaky with the defeat that had finally overtaken him. The ink smudged as if by tears of regret. I didn't reply, the past too raw, my strength too hard-won to soften now, the paper crumpling in my fist as I set it aside to focus on the wilderness ahead. Months later, his hearing began in a courtroom in Hobart Supreme Court, rangers and inspectors wielding my evidence with the precision of a trail marker, Lachlan's testimony a damning narrative of outdoor corruption, and Bruce's audit records a final map, the gallery filled with former guides who nodded in silent support, their packs traded for suits. I attended the first day, my presence a silent testament to my journey from packer to this moment, seated beside Zara and Tom, whose hand I held tightly, and watched Captain Reed's defense crumble under the weight of truth, dozens of former crews stepping forward with tales of pressure and theft, their voices a chorus of validation that echoed through the room. The judge, a stern jurist with a love for hiking and a gavel that rang like a campsite bell, ordered a full investigation, hinting at a potential ban from guiding and fines that loomed like a storm, his ruling a vindication of my 18-year wait. Zara and I launched Con Eco Trails, restoring family pride with sustainable tours, hiring Lachlan as a safety officer whose expertise bridged my past and present, while Tom retired from carpentry to teach bushcraft to youth, his hands finding new purpose in knots. I visited the Tarkine camp once, its trails silent with the absence of Captain Reed's voice, its tent a memory of my youth, a monument to his greed, and my redemption that stood tall in my heart. My revenge, 18 years in the making, was not just justice served with a gust of wind. It was my rebirth, a journey reclaimed from the wreckage of his sabotage, a testament to the resilience I'd always carried within, a trail that grew stronger with each step I took.